Today's guest is Nick Pope, better known as the AI Pope. After 2 decades at AT&T, Bank of America, and Comcast, everything changed the day ChatGPT launched. Nick reinvented himself and dove headfirst into AI, and now he's the go-to Sherpa for businesses trying to cut through the noise. As Chief AI Officer and Train in Your Lane, he's trained thousands at brands such as Ben & Jerry's and Ace Handyman and Empower Group, and now he's bringing that same expertise back home to New Hampshire for nonprofits and small businesses. His mission? To build AI intuition and to give you practical tools to help you save hours, cut costs, and think differently about what's possible. Nick, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Leo, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast when I met you recently, and just absolutely thrilled to be on here and talk about AI, my favorite subject.
I love it. Let's dive in. So bring me back to your journey. How did you get to today?
Yeah. So I grew up in corporate America, right? Like I didn't have entrepreneurial people in my family or that sort of experience. My mother, grew up, she was a social worker and then she ran a girls group home for a number of years. So that sort of civil service type of giving back was sort of in my blood. I went to school for chemical engineering and then changed to education and then to marketing. I found my way into sales and I had a long career in corporate America, the last being at Comcast Business, where I was there for about 12 years. And where I first stepped outside of this was taking a job with a company called Northeast Color. They're a signage manufacturer that specifically works with franchise brands. And I went and joined a good friend of mine there. I was running their business development team, helped them grow to a number of, new franchise clients. And while I was in the middle of that transition, going from corporate America to a second generation family owned business, about 60 employees, which was a big adjustment for me. That's when ChatGPT dropped shortly after that, right? And I wasn't on like day one. I wasn't quite that cool, but it was sort of the Christmas to New Year's break. I had taken a week off just because I had the time. One of the benefits of corporate America, I had phenomenal PTO options. So anyway, just taking a week off and just fell down the rabbit hole and quickly saw the forest through the trees. I did the fun things as well, making little poems and cute things and asking it random questions. But I don't know, I quickly aligned with the fact that I can use this for anything. Right? Not just for fun and games, but I could use this at work and what can I do here? So I just started consuming as much content as I could in my free time. Right. So I found Lex Friedman early on. His podcast was amazing. I love that long format content. I found some really good people on TikTok. I hadn't got into TikTok much, but once I figured out you can really train your algorithm pretty well. So Rachel Woods, who ended up founding the AI Institute, Justin Feinberg, who now runs Cassidy AI. They were people I closely followed and engaged with. And, how much can I learn about this? Whether it's image generation, all these different tools. So that was sort of the first taste of that. And where it turned into more of a career was, I went through the evolutions at the company I was at, right? From me trying to figure out how to use it to work to then saying okay, well, how can I share it with my team? And how can I get them to adopt it? How can I share it up the ladder at my company? How do I get the entire executive team on board with these type of things? And to be honest, I went through the struggles that so many people are still running into now, right? Where you have the people that are like, oh, they have a moral or ethical problem with AI, or the technical people that are like, oh my God, it hallucinates all the time. We can't trust it in any way, shape, or form. To, how to get people to actually have it click. One of my best tips, by the way, for someone that's new into AI is encourage them to use it for something personal. That was the big breakthrough, right? So if you make it about work, it's way less fun. And AI can be so much fun, right? But if you think about it as like a work assignment, I need to use this new SaaS tool at work, no one's ever excited about it, right? So whether it's vacation planning or if you're into gardening or whatever it is, because people are more likely to really use it more and have more fun with it. And that's all you need to get started. And once you start that path, then it can bleed into work very, very easily. I started talking about it. And in the franchise industry, I ran into this phenomenal company called Stay in Your Lane. They did fractional C-suite work, CMO work, COO work, franchise development. And they were talking about AI a little bit. And I would show up they had a bi-weekly half-hour session on Wednesdays. And I'd show up and just chat with them about it with some other people. And then they eventually leaned into doing AI more. And I just said, hey, is there any way I can help? And, they basically said, well, how much would you like to help? And that was my first sort of dip into fractional work. And they brought me on as a fractional director of AI. And honestly, I just like to say this, I have no business being in AI, right? Like I don't have a technical background, machine learning or engineering. I'm not a coder, but through my corporate time, right? Being able to make an impact with people really quickly, building rapport, training, coaching, development, that's a ton of what I did at Comcast. So very quickly being able to help out franchise brands, that grew. I got a little bit more notoriety. I started writing some AI policies for companies, started doing some trainings with them. And that transitioned to a job that I had at the Rundown AI with Rowan Chung. So that was fully rip the band-aid off, absolute startup vibes, remote, asynchronous, deeply involved in the tech space. And I get to work with some really big AI companies working on custom workshops that were hyper specific to a business vertical and a pain point. And the whole goal was, how can we get the people that come into here leave with something functional, right? Not just a demo or a sales pitch, but how do I come in and I get to see a problem of mine solved and I get to leave with that functionality working? And it turned out to be incredibly sticky for those companies. And it was great for our user base. Now, at that point in time, I stopped working at Train in Your Lane and Stay in Your Lane to go full time at the Rundown. Eventually, I ended up coming back and working with them full time. And that's what got me into this space. So that's sort of where I'm at this point in time. And that passion that the Rundown had, they had a motto where they want to upskill 1 billion people on AI. And I just loved that because I think it's a huge thing that everyone needs to be aware of. If you're using it, you have superpowers. And that gap is greatly stretching. And I started realizing, like, how can I prevent my friends and neighbors and the lawn care place that sponsors my daughter's soccer team? How do I make sure they don't get run over by this? So that's where the pivot came in as well, where now I've started the AI Pope out of New Hampshire, where I specifically work with small businesses and get them to sort of see the forest through the trees, as well as a passion project that I'm helping start up called AI in New Hampshire. I had to get my AI fix down at MIT, and that's a drive, and it's traffic and a hotel room. So being able to actually engage with people locally is really been phenomenal. So that's sort of the long story arc of going from corporate America to sort of really the small entrepreneurial space that I'm in at this point in time, and it's had its pros and cons, but it's been a lot of fun to say the least. Leo, I don't know if I lost you here.
Oh, nope. I hear you now. I hear you now. So, okay, I appreciate you sharing that, Nick. I think that's a really interesting sort of winding path, and I think there's a number of interesting points that you really honed in on. I mean, the first thing really is curiosity, right? Like to do well in anything, to learn anything, you have to have that drive in you, and curiosity is absolutely a drive. So you took a look at ChatGPT, you were promptly blown away by it, and you decided to go in and learn everything and anything that you can, being a sponge to sort of soak it up instead of being like, okay, like, why should I learn AI? Like, why is this relevant to me? And I think that's where a lot of people make that mistake, is that they don't see the correlation of how AI would benefit them, and they're quick to discount it rather than figuring out, like, what are the capabilities of it first. I mean, yes, there's going to be like little, little party tricks where you can like make a funny cat image or something like that, but then you'll eventually find your lane and figure out, your sweet spot.
Yeah. Um, Curiosity is huge, right? And I think I also attribute it to like ADHD as well, right? I think I've read some interesting articles around people that are a little bit more neurospicy
Hmm.
and have those fast moving brains, and being able to connect the dots and move really, really quick definitely helped, right? But yeah, I agree that curiosity is huge. And I also think that not enough people get to be curious at work. They're busy,
Hmm.
right? They're busy doing their jobs. They're busy doing the day to day. And it's definitely one of the more entertaining things about AI is you really get to push your own creativity and find those sort of use cases that other people wouldn't think about, right? That's a big thing for me is when I first started trying to teach people about it, it was how I thought AI would work. And I'd show it to them and they'd be like, yeah, cool. right? And I'd be like, ah, right. And so, but like, I knew it wasn't like, I didn't know how to speak to my warehouse manager, right? That managed
Mm,
shipping and logistics, right? Like my ideas for how he could use AI definitely weren't the right ones. I've got plenty more use cases now to help with those people, but early
mm.
on, it was really about getting them curious and finding ways for them to use it. And then the ideas they came up with were ultimately the brilliant ones.
Yeah, definitely. Another analogy that I thought of when you mentioned that is, when people think that when it comes to AI, we see these huge headlines, right? Like some 24-year-old got like a $250 million like pay package from like Meta to go work for them, and we're like, okay, we're not that guy, so AI is not for us. But I think what people don't realize is that AI is just like any other industry. There's many different players in it. I mean, when you're talking about real estate, right? You have the developers. I mean, sure, like the developers might be like the software engineers of the AI world, but then you have the contractors, you have the inspectors, you have the brokers, you have the insurance people, you have like a whole bunch of different players in the space. So you absolutely have a space in this realm. Everybody does. You just need to figure out what it is.
Love that. That's a perfect example, right? I couldn't have come up with that analogy, right? But that's your area of expertise and you can correlate to where those pieces are. And, I think it is absolutely brilliant because you can use it in any function and you can use it for almost anything. And I think that's also daunting for people as well, right? But I definitely think sort of, blockchain and the metaverse and crypto, like it kind of almost felt like this was that next thing. And a lot of people were like, oh, great, right? The tech bros are at it again.
Hmm.
But yeah, it is so much more wide open. And the beautiful thing about it is it's kind of the polar opposite. Like you don't even need to be that technical to use it, right? Like you really only need to get very technical. Like if you're trying to get your product through development on the last 20%, right? Where you're still probably going to need an engineer at this point in time, right?
Hmm.
But for the day-to-day uses, these tools are unbelievable, right? Like as much as I use a lot of different tools, I try to be model agnostic and really an inch deep, a mile wide, and test and play with a lot of things. Like it's hard to beat $20 a month ChatGPT for the insane amount of things it can actually do. And it's definitively wizardry, right? And we're always moving goalposts about what is, AGI, artificial general intelligence, and oh, it's not smarter than the smartest to everything yet. So it's not that cool, but it is wild for almost anything that you can do. $20 a month, man, it is such a steal. That's $20 a month you can spend. I'd fight someone over trying to tell me where they could spend a better $20 a month.
That's true. That's true. So if you're talking about like an on ramp for learning AI, like what would you say are maybe the different tiers of getting started? Maybe one is just, maybe using the voice mode in ChatGPT, for example, versus using automations, so forth.
Yeah, I would say, Leo, you've been in AI a little long. If you think voice narration is a 0 to 1 type of step, there's still so many people out there. I would say it's really just understanding a prompt. And the word prompt engineering is scary for people, right? But it's really people didn't have like a before and after, right? Like when you think about like Blockbuster to Netflix, technological disruption, but oh, okay. So it's kind of like the video rental store I used to go to, but now it's on my TV and it's all just streaming. Okay. Kind of makes sense. They know how to use it. When generative AI came out, there really wasn't anything it was replacing, right? So there was this gap of how do I use it? And I think the closest thing people had was Google, right? Like kind of looks the same. You got a text box, you hit press enter. And so I still feel like the majority of people out there that even are like, I use ChatGPT all the time, are just using it very, very rudimentary fashion, right? So it's very similar to a question or very basic prompting. And really the trick from that 0 to 1 is getting people to understand that it's trained for natural language processing. So it is designed to speak like a human. And if you speak like a human to it, that really is the biggest unlock, right? So really giving it some examples, telling it to take its time, giving it a ton of context, right? Like if I asked you to go do something for me and I was like, hey, Leo, can you just go, pick this up from the store? Like, okay, cool. Versus if I said like, hey, Leo, can you go to, this store? It's my anniversary tonight. I forgot this one ingredient. Like this, it's just, I need cheese, but my wife has a dairy allergy, so it can't have milk in it. And like, it would really be perfect if you could get it over at this time. Like, do you have any questions? And you're like, yeah, I have these questions. You're like, okay, let me answer those for you. Like, dude, thank you so much. Like, really, this is so important for me. That's the same ask, just with
Mm,
very different context. And if you were to speak to a human in one way, you're going to get a very specific output. If you were to speak in that second option, you're going to get probably a much better output, right? And that's sort of that first key that I would say is getting them to understand you want to talk to it like a person. That's that first step, right? From there, then it starts splintering into other things, right? They start seeing better results with it. And that's where you really just sort of let someone choose their own adventure and go with that. I think the second phase is really when they start using it for a multitude of things, not just like one or two things, when they really start using it everywhere. My third phase I always joke about is when they finally cross the threshold is when like they just start like telling me, like when my employees would be like, yeah, I was out at, I went to this bachelorette party and I planned the whole vacation there and I was doing this and like it started raining and I went on my ChatGPT, we found something else to do. And my friends were like, what are you doing? And she's like, I just found myself like telling him all about it and telling him to download it. And like, I couldn't stop talking about it. And like, that to me is when you've crossed that threshold and you really get it, is like when your friends and family start being like, all right, enough, right? Like that's that evolution I try to get people to, from being faintly aware of it to like just becoming an absolute fan of it. Because I think anyone that goes that far gets to that third stage where they're like, oh my gosh, right? Like, I know when we first talked, you were like, I don't get this chance to nerd out about AI stuff that
yeah,
much, right? And
yeah,
I'm in the same space. My normal friend group, group text, like they don't care that much about my AI things, but trying to get as many people there. And once you're there, dude, it's a blast.
yeah, yeah, totally. And you mentioned something closer to the start that I want to touch on is I think what a lot of people get wrong about AI is that they look at AI like ChatGPT. They look at ChatGPT as if it were Google, for example, and they're like asking Google like, I don't know, dinner recommendations. Like, no, like you have to chat with it. You have to actually like give it other things. So that's one thing. And the second thing, which I think is kind of just unfortunate, that there's a lot of new jargon and phrases around these things that just like scare people for no reason, like prompt engineering, large language model, model context protocol. You're like, what is this? And you feel lost. But I think as with any industry, like even real estate, it's like, hey, like what's your cap rate? What's your occupancy? What's your NOI? Like these things, they're just fancy terms for very simple theories and ways to look at things. So I think people overcomplicate it, they get afraid, and then they shut off. And once you shut off, once you hit that eject button, once you're out, you're out. And that's a mistake a lot of people make.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right. And I will also say that regardless of where you are on the AI spectrum, that feeling of like, holy cow, I know nothing and this is overwhelming. And like, how am I ever going to keep up? Or like, there's no way that I like, that honestly never goes away. Right. Like, even myself, where I talk about this all day, every day, like, I still feel that way looking to some of these people that are way better at this than me. Right. Or way more skilled or have a different technical background. I'm jealous of people that have been coding their whole lives. And now, like, oh my God, if I knew how to code and do all of these things, like, so there's always that layer to it. I was at an MIT conference, and Andrew, I forget his last name, but he heads up Copilot for Microsoft, was presenting there. And that was still relatively, that was maybe almost 3 years ago now, in like October, that I was there. And I heard him say this, where he was like, I can't even keep up. I'm the head of like, and I can't keep up with all of it, because even him, he's focused on his core product and what that tool does, right? He's like, I have no idea about Suno or UDO that you can make music with, or all of these different tools. Like, and that's the crazy thing about AI that can be very overwhelming, is it is everywhere and in everything. And that's only gonna become more prevalent. Like the stuff that we're seeing coming out with medical breakthroughs, novel breakthroughs in science and math, like what it's gonna do to the energy sector. Like there's just unbelievable things that are still coming on the horizon. But getting that foundational understanding of it, and even the fundamentals of how to use ChatGPT and how to talk with it and how to understand those basics, those things I was teaching people 2.5, 3 years ago are still incredibly relevant today. And it's not like all of a sudden, like you've been outgrown by the industry. Those fundamentals still really stick and carry you up, just like in your real estate example, that as you start speaking the language and learning those terms, there's always something more, but you still have a really good foundational understanding, and that translates to AI as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's an interesting part of that is that you don't have to be the master of AI to benefit from it. There's different levels to it. And I think for you to just set aside your ego and just figure out where your lane is, so to speak. Like for me, for example, when I jumped into the deep end of it, I was like learning all this stuff. Initially, I got intimidated because I was like, okay, I don't have a software engineering background. I don't know what's going on. And eventually, I went into like, okay, here's this thing. Here's this workflow automation tool called NAN. Like I can design all these little sequences of little things to happen. It can query all these things. And then I got to designing like a bot that sort of half baked. It really only worked for a very slim use case. And like outside of it, doesn't factor it in. So I was like, yeah, this doesn't work. It's not for me. And then when you and I reconnected, it was like you were telling me about this other platform, Lindy, that's like much more intuitive. Like you chat with it, you go back and forth, it can figure out a lot of the back end stuff for you. It's like it just made the whole process a lot more palpable for me because I mean I'm a business owner. I don't have time to learn all that stuff. So I will choose for this tool instead over that. So I think it's a matter of right sizing AI rather than like trying to figure out how to maximize it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I talk to people a lot about like what makes you you, and the knowledge that you have and the expertise that you have. Like that is honestly where you want to put AI in. I refer to that as more augmented intelligence versus right anything else, because your industry insights, your knowledge, you're going to be able to use it in that lane so much better than someone like me. Like, regardless of my skill with AI, I wouldn't know the right conversations or the right asks for ChatGPT or any of these tools. So anything I'm going to produce is going to be a fraction of the quality of what you could produce due to your expertise. You can spot the hallucinations and the errors. I have to go on trust or try to research those type of things, right? So yes, everyone, and regardless of age as well, whether you're younger or older, like I love seeing all of like literally baby boomers that are crushing it in the AI field, right? Because they've gotten past that fear of that tech and they realize it's just conversational. And all of this is going to get easier to use, right? I still relate to even where we're at. Maybe we're starting to cross the threshold slightly out of like an MS DOS mode, right? Where like literally like backslash this, like when Midjourney or any of these things that are on Discord drive me crazy, where I have to type in like
Hmm.
backslash this
I
hashtag
remember that.
command. Dude, this is so
Yeah.
hard, right? When Midjourney went to an actual website and it's so much
Mm,
easier now, it's only going to keep going in that direction, right? And I think to your point earlier about voice, it's not even an AI hack. It's my best hack out there for productivity, which is there's apps. Super Whisper is my favorite. There's
hmm.
one called Whisper Flow. I love Super Whisper because you can run it locally on your computer without it connecting anywhere. So for those of you that are extra security paranoid, it's a fantastic option. Like I don't type anymore. Very rarely do I type, right? Most of the time it's just a key binding and I talk. So being able to get it out of my head faster, to ideate, record 15 minutes about my ideas about X, Y, and Z, get everything out of me. The AI is smart enough now that it just loves all that extra context. And the more dots you can give it to connect, the better the output is going to be. And honestly, I think we're moving more and more towards that. I think today, ChatGPT just released an API that allows you to connect into their voice model to build it into everything. And that is going to be something that continues to go down the vein is I think voice as a UI is going to be huge. And it's really going to become a lot more of you just talking to it and it's being able to do things versus even clicking on those workflows, even connecting those dots, right? Like even prompting inside of Lindy what you want it to do. It's really just gonna be like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm looking for. These are the things that I'm using. And it's like, okay, here you go. Which melts my brain.
Yeah.
And if you ever talk like that to someone that doesn't know anything about AI, like they just glaze over. It's way too much, right? But basic stuff, having conversations, having something fun that they're passionate about, and then you start stringing that together. And as people start understanding more and more, that's when you move up that chain of, all right, let's get out of just a chat window. We can talk about some automations. We can talk about ways to string these things together. And then for organizations, that sort of last phase is like getting a platform that does all of these disparate things that you found and bringing them under one umbrella is that sort of next level where I would say a fraction. I can probably count on, my two hands, companies that I've actually worked with that are at that space and ready for it.
Mm. Yeah, and right now we're just at this really sort of early stages of AI sort of coming out. I feel like it's the speed of the progress is only going to compound like as we move forward. So I think right now there is still a lot of noise happening, right? There's like a lot of tools with overlapping functionality, for example. So I mean, have you sort of figured out a system as to like, what systems to keep or like what programs to keep, what to not sort of keep track
I
of
mean,
that?
to be abundantly clear, like, no, it's honestly a lot of what I do for my clients is exactly that, because I am fortunate enough that I don't know if fortunate is the right word, sort of some of those pros and cons, right? Like as I've gone through this journey, I've been like, man, I really should have just focused on this one tool and become an implementer and sold workflows and things like that. But the nature of just sort of my growth is experimenting with a lot of these different companies and a lot of these different tools. And when they come out, staying on top of that. And then, because that's one of the biggest things, right? When you find something like, okay, I think AI can solve this problem for me, sometimes people run into that step of like, okay, well, which tool does this? And if you try to research it, man, everyone's an AI company now, right? Like there's a gazillion of them. The noise is deafening out there. It's really hard to figure out the winners, right? Like, I think my favorite example is if you Google, and this hopefully will change soon and I'll be wrong, but if you Google right now, like AI image generation tool on Google, you're not going to come up with any of the ones you'd actually want to use, right? Because it's all stuffed. It's all of these other companies that are pushing and vying for these type of things, and that's the same for a lot of things. So I don't have a great recommendation on how a normal human can keep up with all of this. There are some newsletters. I mentioned the Rundown earlier. I'm a huge fan of the Rundown. The Neuron is another fantastic newsletter as well. There's different podcasts. If you're on TikTok, if you're on LinkedIn, feel free to reach out to me with whatever your media consumption of preference is, and I probably have some recommendations. But I like my morning newsletters. That's my morning cadence. Is both of those two newsletters hit like 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So like I wake up, getting my coffee, I can cruise through that, and it gives me a really good high level of sort of latest, greatest, up to date things that are happening.
Mm, I like that. So when just to zoom out a little bit, right? When we're talking about AI and like, you're saying every company is an AI company. I do see a lot of companies implementing like AI stuff in their background and it's not perfect. Like it's sort of like a moving target. Like, Canva right now, it could design little designs for you with a prompt and stuff like that. But like what do you see as actually being implemented in them? Are they running like workflow automations? Are they using like image generation? Are they doing something else?
Yeah, I mean, as far as you're talking about like the ones that aren't really AI companies, as I would call them, like the ones that are saying that they are what they're doing,
Yeah.
it's generally like, yeah, they've got a ChatGPT API on the back end. They've got some sort of RAG tool that's out there that has a chatbot on their website. I was just talking with a company that's like just straight machine learning on the back end. It's just straight algorithms and really good stuff, right? But like they're touting themselves as like a generative AI company. At the end of it, I was like, where is the AI in what you're doing, right? And they're like, oh, well, we're working on this agentic workflow that gives you recommendations based on some of this data. And I was like, oh, okay, and they've got .ai on their website name, right? Because it's popular, right? So those are the companies that I would say like, no, no, I don't really want to cast a lot of shade at them because everyone should be trying to lean into this, right? But when you really look at like what a good AI company is, like a couple of my telltale signs are like when you talk to them and you ask like, how many people do you have on staff and what are those roles, right? If it's not primarily engineers in the back end, probably not an AI company, probably another company that has some sort of automation in there, right? I love that one. The other thing I always look for with really great deep companies that I believe in are similar to myself. They're model agnostic on the back end. A lot of these sort of smaller companies that say they're AI are just running on ChatGPT or just running on whatever it is on the back end. And I think that's very limiting for any customer to invest in that type of tool because what happens if Anthropic comes out with something huge, right? When's the next DeepSeek moment going to happen from China, right? And if you locked yourself into some platform where you can't just flip a switch and change the model, you could be severely behind for months, right? So that's why I know you mentioned Lindy. I talked about Cassidy. I love those because anywhere inside of that, for any part of my workflow, I can change what model it's on, whether it's a local run model, whether it's off of Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude. So I've had workflows that, you know, I was able to duplicate what other companies were charging $4 to $6 a hit for some intelligence on clients. I was able to run that inside of Cassidy for about 50 cents. When a new version of Claude came out and I was able to run it for a fraction of the cost, that now cost me 15 cents per run. So when you're really looking at that cost, like just by being on a model or a tool that's model agnostic, I can pivot and reduce the cost on spend of something over 50%. If I'm running that thousands of iterations, that's very serious money very quickly.
Hmm. I see. I see. So it seems like a lot of these tools that are model agnostic, they're like AI wrappers, right? They sort of tap into these different models to figure out like what to use for that situation, like Perplexity, right?
Yeah, it's the wrapper companies got a lot of hate early on in sort of the AI world, right? They're like, if you're making a wrapper company, they're just going to come for you and smash you. And we've seen a ton of companies absolutely do that, right? You look at Lovable, how quickly they've grown to a
Mm,
million AR, like absolutely nuts for these companies. So I do think, is there still an inherent risk of being a wrapper company and all of a sudden your business model going out because OpenAI all of a sudden puts that inside of their model? Yeah. But what's the timing on that? With AI, you can move really, really fast in that space. And I think, client experience, that still matters a ton. And if you can do it better, you're still going to make a lot of money in that space and you can create unbelievable products. And we've seen that across the board. So it'll be really interesting. I know ChatGPT, OpenAI is going for like the entire Microsoft Office suite. I saw that as well. I think Elon is going after that with Grok as well. So it'll be interesting to see as these sort of behemoths come out, what they can do with that. But again, my mindset is let those big ones fight. And realistically, instead of tying your horse just to one of them, tie your horse to a platform where you can bet on all the horses and you can switch mid race. If one starts to win, that's the one I want to go with. That's where I think the wrappers can be very robust, is if they can not be dependent on one specific model. If you've got a wrapper that's just built on one model, I think that's where your much higher risk level is.
mm, fair enough. And now, speaking more so on just like the workplace and like AI and stuff. So I think that's like a big challenge as well, right? I mean, a lot of people like they just don't know how to implement it in their company. And like, what do you think is like the driving reason why? Like they don't know how to use it, or like they don't know what tool to use?
I would say it's a big question, right? Like, why aren't companies better at implementing AI holistically, right? We just saw the report come out from MIT, and it was a small subset, but what did it say? Like 95% of AI implementations fail, right? And I think my high level theory is the people that are sort of making the decisions on where to go, they generally don't understand AI well enough to really understand if it's the right path forward. It's also in a lot of these organizations being treated as a tool and not educated on and getting people to holistically understand it. So think about my example from earlier on where I mentioned that like how I thought someone should use it wasn't really how they are going to get the best functionality out of it, right? So, with training your lane specifically, when we're working with franchise brands, the first thing we do when someone asks me like, hey, can you build us a bot that answers, marketing copy locally for all these different locations? Or how about an internal knowledge database? Or could we get a phone system that answers so someone's always there? My answer is always yes, absolutely. Like we could totally do that, right? Couple questions, right? First thing first is, you know, talk to me about your executive team, your executive leaders, right? Do they get AI? Are they on board with it? Or like, tell me the story there. 99% of the time, it's maybe one, maybe two people that they will call out that actually use AI at that senior most level. So that to me tells you have a ton of friction, right? You're going to have people that are very anti it for whatever reason. There's a lot of fear, hesitation, morality type of things that prevent people from being excited about it. All of the reasons we've talked about, right? And then it's like, okay, what do you have for an AI policy? And that number is increasing more where people have it. Early on, it was like, we don't have one. Like we sent out an email that said like, don't do this thing, right? Like now I'm seeing a lot more like very restrictive policies as well. Like the same logic around don't tie your cart to one specific tool is like, don't create a policy that says we can only use these three tools.
Hmm.
because as soon as you do that, you're handcuffing your team. There's no experimentation. And ultimately, it boils back down to everyone's least favorite thing, which is when your company says, we're going to implement a new CRM, or we've got this new thing that we're pivoting over to. Like, no one there is like, yes, I get to use this new tool and learn everything over again. And someday it's going to be better, right? If that's how you're introducing AI to your company, that's why you're failing, right? So education at the senior most level helps. Once they start understanding it and getting excited about it, then policy, a policy that promotes safe, ethical usage and protects you in all the right ways, but also promotes creativity that we talked about. It promotes experimentation and rewards people for talking about their usage and builds an environment that incentivizes people to share their good wins. That's how that culture starts changing. And then you roll out team training to everyone at the organization that talks about this policy, gets them to see the forest through the trees. And those are the companies that I love continuing to do work with, where you start to see these power players rise up in the ranks, where places you might not have ever thought of them, but the people that are naturally inclined at this and get excited by it and want to run with it, those companies empower those individuals. They figure out their use cases. They put clear parameters and timelines and ROIs behind it. And now you're solving real problems inside your company from people inside your company that care about your company for things that actually matter, versus you saw a cool ad online for this CRM that does discovery. And you're like, we have a problem with discovery. Let's buy this tool, right? And I think the companies that are in that 5% from that study are doing that right, right? It's about education first, unlock the power that's in your org versus here's a new tool or here's a policy that feels, like a detention slip and not a hall pass, right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. You touched on two important points and mistakes. I think a lot of, or I think just 2 points in general about corporations with AI is that first off, it's actually very easy to measure the ROI of AI in their workflow, right? It's like, okay, well, here's this one task that we're doing. Let's say, I don't know, it's like sending invoices out to people, whereas before it used to be taking up 2 hours of this person's time at X dollars of whatever the labor cost, salary, whatever. And then, okay, if you run it through something, I don't know, like say Lindy or something, right? It costs 15 cents per run. Okay, how much is that ROI? It's pretty easy to measure. But where I think corporations or like companies get tripped up is like, okay, like when do you decide this tool is good enough to implement? And then how do you make sure it's the best tool moving forward? If there's another tool, then it's like, it's quite a lot of hassle to like train the whole team on like, hey, here's this new platform that we're going to change to, right? So it's like they're stuck.
Yes. What I would say though is the same way you looked at N8N and then saw Lindy and you were able to go, oh, this is so much easier, right? And it's mainly because you understood and you were able to connect those dots. And that's where I think that fundamental training is different. If you don't have that, and then you start switching tools, yes, even more problems. But if you legitimately have a workforce that has strong AI literacy and really understands these type of things and gets it, and it's not just clicking a box or doing a thing like every other tool out there, like you can pivot if you need to relatively quickly because the people actually get it. And these tools are only going to get easier. They're generally not going to get more difficult.
Mm, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think the the analogy that I think of is like when you're driving, right? Or when you're in a car, there's a difference between when you're driving versus when you're not. It's like easier to for you to get like motion sickness when you're a passenger in a car. I know that firsthand driving my Tesla and like having someone else drive a Tesla. I'm like, okay, see the difference. And I think it's the same phenomenon in a company. It's like the driver of the implementation, the person that's experimenting, figuring out what's actually working, they're excited, they're on board, they see it, but then the others are like, another training, okay.
Yeah. Yes. Right. And I think you are explaining and what you're saying resonates with so many AI enthusiasts at so many companies, right? Where they're like, guys, I don't know how to explain this to you in a way that is going to get you past your fears of hallucinations, right? You know who also hallucinates? People. People hallucinate all the time. And pretty regular clips as well, right? Like we coach them. It's a very similar mindset, right? But like sometimes IT departments are so used to deterministic, if this, then this, always the same output. And AI is just not like that. But the beauty of it is it can do so much more that those deterministic systems can't. And it can be so much more elastic. But it does take a lot of training and time to really get it ironed in before let the dragon free, right? I always say the dragon needs a rider. AI is incredibly dangerous. It can be very powerful if you've got someone paying attention. And so that human in the loop is important, right? Humans taste, expertise. You don't want to completely outsource all of this. But there's so many people that are stuck inside these organizations that are just rattling the bars because it's not easy to be the person inside the company that got excited about this and then be able to take a step back and convince everyone you're not just excited about something, right? Like, I think that's what I learned firsthand when I was doing that, going through those stages of like finance. Literally, it was like, we're not paying for any tools anymore. No one's ChatGPTs are allowed. And I was like, okay, cool. That feels slightly targeted at someone here. I'm seeing how there's two people with ChatGPT subscription, right? Or IT, like we just have to really research it and we have to test it and we have to do all of these things. And sometimes getting some outside help, like that's really where I think it does help to have, someone come in that can speak and train and is just a little bit of an outside influence. And then those people inside those organizations, right? I say this to companies all the time. You've got people like me inside your organization. You just don't know about it yet, right? And what they're doing is they don't have permission to go and actually help your company, right? So they're coming up with all these great ideas. They know how they could fix these problems. They just can't get traction internally. And what that turns into is all of the conferences that I go to that have startup pitch rooms, right? I was at MIT. They had like 3 hours in a side room, not even at the convention, that I sat in because I always like to find good new tools. So it was literally, what was it, 45-second pitches? And it pitched something like that. And it was just over and over and over again. And people seeking their Series A funding or looking for backers or looking for partners. And every single story, not everyone, most of them followed the same trope, which was, hi, my name is so-and-so. This is my company. I worked at company X. I worked at Nike. And we had this problem with shoes and inventory across the United States. And I was able to figure out a way to be able to track this information and correctly report on it and predict where those bottlenecks would be. And now I have this company and I can help any company out there that has this problem. And I'm seeking $500,000. I'm looking to raise $1.5 million. And to me, I love those humans. More power to them. There's going to be a lot more solopreneurs out there from all of these people that are working at companies that don't empower them, that don't find them and don't put the right frameworks in. They're going to lose that. And the pitch to any CEOs that are listening that are, trying to figure out how to move this forward, find those people, because the next great IP, the next great company could be already inside your company and you could harness that power versus it leaving your organization and losing this, immensely valuable talent.
Hmm. So speaking of that, Nick, I mean, you've helped train literally thousands, at these large companies like Ben Jerry's, Handyman, like all Empower Brands, these places. So what did you learn on that scale? How are they looking at things, and how are you encouraging them to implement these tools?
Yeah. Ultimately it takes a little bit of convincing most of the time, right? I would say that the standard thing that we get asked, right, is like, we want to come in, tell us what you have to tell us. What's the 90-day plan? Let's figure out these workflows. We've got these ideas. Like, let's put together a roadmap and let's tackle this, right? Which is the stereotypical SaaS tool model that they've been doing for how many years now? 10, 15 years at this point in time? Tried and true. So really getting them to take a step back and really focus on education is very, very critical in that space so they really understand the right decisions that they're making. And I think every single time I see the same pattern, which is their eyes start to open. They start going like, oh my God, it could do this. I had no idea it could do this. Like, wait, you're telling me it can do, and like, how could this be used? Could it be used in this and then in this? And I'm like, and this and this and this. And they're like, where do we start? How do we prioritize? And it's like, you're starting to get the idea, right? So I'm telling you right now, the ideas that you have might be the right ideas, but they might not be. And to get this to actually work and for you to see what you're seeing right now come to fruition, we've got to get everyone else on the same page. We've got to remove the same barriers that you had. We have to help your organization move quickly, because if you've got a lot of hesitation throughout your org, none of this is going to work, right? And I saw a lot of that. That's a relatively new sort of epiphany within the last, maybe 18 months. I had a lot of clients in 2024 that went right to the tool rack, and they went with great tools. And were they successful? Sure. Were they as wildly successful as they thought they were going to be? Nope. So again, really getting into that education space, it's really critical. If you're out there and you know that you're hearing about AI and you've seen these use cases and you know you need to be doing it inside of your company, I would just say, take a deep breath and really, like, how often are you using AI? And I hate that I can't remember. It was on, I think, Lenny's podcast. I forget who said this. It might have been the CEO of Every, that talked about, what's the number one indicator you would say that you see for whether or not a company can successfully integrate AI into their organization. And his answer was, if the CEO uses it daily. Because if they get it, they're going to be excited about it. They're going to preach about it. They're going to move quickly in that space. If they don't use it, they're going to set very unrealistic expectations. They don't really know where those jagged edges are, where it might work and it might not work. And ultimately, if you as the CEO or even on the executive level, if you're not using it, you're giving every other person in your organization the excuse not to use it as well. So I love that answer. I talk to CEOs about it all the time. And once you can get them hooked and get those leaders hooked, then it's about, all right, how do we cascade this information down? So good change management, HR is critical. If you've got a good HR team, if you've got good trainers, if you've got people that understand, motivations and adult learning and, right, how to make it fun. I think that's one of the tricks that Train in Your Lane has that I love deploying, is that we're not tech people, right? Humans just having fun while learning this type of information. I think that goes a long way. I think a lot of times when you have an implementation company coming in to teach you how to use Salesforce, I don't know, I'm not saying anything bad about them, but it's like IT people teaching you things, nerdy people teaching you things, right? Like, it's not engaging and fun and creative. And those are the huge elements that we talked about early on this call that make AI so unique. And I think if you don't lean into that uniqueness, you're just not going to get the outputs that it's capable of.
Mm, fair enough. So, okay, a few lightning round questions. So, as far as AI goes, like right now, we're at this phase that okay, certain tools are more useful than others. So, for someone to get that immediate ROI, what do you think is makes the most sense for them? So, it could be like ChatGPT, like you're talking to it, giving it context and stuff. Maybe it's workflow automations, or what's that to you? Do you think?
Yeah, depending on where you're at, right? Like if you're not starting off, ChatGPT, $20 a month, don't use the free version. Free version's great, but your mind will be blown once you get outside of that, right? So ultimately, ChatGPT is a huge one. And even deep inside of that, deep research, not enough people understand that that's even there, right? Using agent, you have an agent inside of ChatGPT that you probably don't know about. One of my favorite things is on ChatGPT, if you go into the advanced voice button where you can talk back and forth with it, if you then press the camera button, and there's no call out for this, you can actually talk to it while it sees what you're seeing and it can respond to it. So it can look at the problem that you're having with your electrical wiring and give you advice on it, right? It can help you fix something. It can translate a sign while you're on vacation, right? So that is still the Kleenex of tissue paper for a reason, general purpose. ChatGPT is phenomenal. Once you're comfortable with that, Gemini, most people have Google Gmail accounts. Gemini is crushing it right now. They're very, very good in that space. So leveraging that tool as well. Deep research. It's got a nice big juicy context window, so you can give it a lot of information. The new Nano Banana that just came out, the image generation editing is phenomenal, right? All if you have a Gmail account, man. And then Claude is the other one as well that I would say. Claude's Anthropic. Those are the three LLMs that have some different flavors that you can use all of them very, very effectively for different things. Sort of that next tier up is really experimenting with fun other tools, whether it's low code, no code type of programming and creating websites and fun things. It's just as easy as chatting with ChatGPT, honestly, to using tools like Suno or Udio where you get to make music. That next layer up is that automation, your Make, your Zapier, and Then sort of that upper tier, I really like Lindy, Cassidy AI, things along those lines is sort of you're tiering up as you go through that. And then if you really want to get into coding, right, you've got your major players out there, Cursor and all that sort of stuff, which I still don't dabble too far in there. I'm a Claude
Yeah.
Code guy.
Yeah, fair enough. Most overrated AI use case or most hype thing out there.
God, I would say social media posts, right? Like, please, God, everyone stop, right? Like, get some basic education behind you and stop copying and pasting out of it, right? Like, emails back, social media posts that are clearly just copy and paste AI. I mean, I guess they're useful, but we're just going to see slop over the next 2 years. It's going to be real rough.
Yeah. Last question, favorite book or podcast or idea that helps you learn AI and shapes your view on this?
Wow. All right. Lenny's podcast right now is probably my favorite out there at this moment. Greg Eisenberg is phenomenal in that space as well. If you're into long content, Lex Friedman, man, when he gets on with someone with AI is really, really great. As far as books, I've got two right here on my bookshelf behind me. We've got The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleiman. If you want your brain melted by one of the true greats that's been around for a while, I cannot recommend that book enough. Talking about where we were, where we're at now, where we're going into the future. And then Ethan Mollick is phenomenal. Co-Intelligence. That book is great to pick up for anyone that hasn't really dabbled much in AI. Great fundamentals. He does a masterclass at just making things super easy to understand.
Love it, love it. Well, thank you for all your wisdom, Nick. How can people connect with you? How can they get in touch with you and like talk about more?
Yeah, absolutely. So LinkedIn's my main stomping ground. So Nick Pope, if you look me up on LinkedIn, I think we'll have some stuff in the show notes. I have my website, which is the AIPope.ai. If you're around the New Hampshire area or just want to book me for a little bit of consulting time, I'm more than happy to help give you the sort of fast path through that learning curve on a lot of these tools. I have a mild TikTok account if you really want to search me on there. But outside of that, I would say those are my big three. For any larger companies, traininyourlane.com is a phenomenal spot to really design to help larger corporations.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Nick. And yeah, I'll catch you all next time.
All right. Thank you so much, Leo. You have a good one.
Too.